Now to take you through the starting grid for our first of 3 heats for the shifter divisions here for Karting Champions League Winter Series Round 1 2026. Heat 1, it starts as thus. Tommy van der Stroy starts from pole position and took that by nearly 0.33 of a second in yesterday's qualifying session. He'll be joined by Gil Mertens, the leading KZ Masters driver in the field on the front row. Mika van der Pavet will be joined by experienced KZ driver Jeffrey Fixer on row 2. Alois Girardet and Milan van Vinden round out row 3 ahead of Samuel Luyet and Kevin Steyhauer. Sam Glaze and Lenny Hobiolagash round out your top 10. Defending KZ winner from last year, Jens Stroer will start on the inside of row 6, will be joined by Germany's Louis Esser on the same row. Mick Blankensporen makes his KZ debut in the series alongside Luca Prima on an all-Dutch row 7. Tanja Chileri and Nick Plumers round out row 8. Anders Alkier and Kane Ince round out row 9 with Christopher Saxe and Martin Versteeg rounding out your top 20. Completing the 26 strong will be as follows. Milo Bogenhout, Bas Schulten, Daniel Zilstra, Zico Oosterhoff, Robin Glerum and Jean Luyet. Luyet looks to be a non-starter, so Robin Glerum is going to be doing effectively a top gear from the rear. A recent new signing at Power Racing on the Birrell Art. So he's also been very, very prevalent in the Chrono Karting Dutch KZ2 championships over the last couple of years. But can he make a run for it from the back end of the field? That's going to be interesting to see. Of course, the shifter categories, ladies and gentlemen, because of the amount of sheer force of torque through the back axle, the karts will be doing the traditional single-seater style F1 start. It will be from a standing start. We will have a green flag at the back, and then the lights will then show up, the revs will rise, and when those lights go out, we will be racing. There will be 10 minutes plus an additional lap for this particular encounter out of 3. Also, with the fact that these drivers have front and rear brake systems to deal with, there's a lot more brake pressure that goes through and can stop these cars very, very quickly. So Van der Stroys slowly moves up to his position on the grid. He'll have Gil Mertens to his outside, the very, very experienced driver running with CRG Belgium, operated under Claude Ball. But more to the point, this is the most taxing division within karting. Green flag at the back. Drivers instructed to look at the lights. The 4 red lights are on. We're lights out and underway. And it is a good start by Tommy van der Stroy. Gil Mertens slots in behind. As all, we've got a spinner who's done a 360 and straight away onto the grass. That looked to be possibly Christopher Saxe from Denmark in the 412. So straight away, these drivers, you can just see the amount of, they're not just having to deal with the traction, they're having to deal with shifting up, shifting down, hitting the brakes, getting the power out of the corners, and they are like absolute rocket ships. Into the Europlan for the first time. The rain has subsided. We've got someone else who's had a bit of a drama, has pointed inwards onto turn 6 and has managed to get going again. But Van der Stroy is starting to pull away at the front of the field. Hard on the brakes. You can just see the amount of distance you can close hard onto braking. Someone goes for a dive bomb, just about makes it work and gets 2 for the price of 1 at turn 10. But after the opening lap, it is Van der Stroy leading by 7/10 of a second. Kevin Steyhauer has rocketed up the field from 8th, runs P3 ahead of Milan van Vinden. Mika van der Pavet for SP Motorsport rounds out your top 5. Sam Clay's up 3 spots. There's a dive to the inside here at turn number 2. It's going to be 3 wide, and that is nearly never going to work, but they still managed to keep it on the black stuff. Well held in these conditions. So Sam Clay's up into P6, Jeffrey Fixer and Alois Girardet round out your top 8. Luca Prima and Jens Sir as someone's going to the outside at turn 6. That doesn't always work, but has made up one position. Well, Robin Glerum has been on a tear, but oh no, dramas for Christopher Zaxer. And that is the Danes race done and dusted. That's coming out of turn 5 onto the Europolan. Main thing is, he's walking away under his own power. It's nearly 3 wide coming out of turn number 10. But Van der Stroys is trying to pull away, and he's got a gap of, again, 0.6 of a second. Gil Mertens is keeping that youngster from the Netherlands very, very honest. Kevin Steyhauer is now about 1.7 seconds behind in P3. There's Alois Girardet with Jens Sir as, oh, that's not what you want to do in these wet weather conditions. Hit the brakes, back end rotates. And these brakes on these KZ machines are very, very difficult. And it's to navigate, and that's Lenny Horbiolagash. And that is the driver from the Lahouk Racing Team, run and operated by Arthur Lahouk, sim racer, KZ2 exponent. And at one point, Arthur was, I'm not too sure if he's still aligned with Williams, Atlassian Williams sim racing division. I'm sure he probably still is, but he is concentrating on being a team boss and a driver at the same time. Someone's being very brave and rambunctious, trying to go around the outside of turn 8 and makes a position. So, Jean Louillet, non-starter. Christopher Zaxer off. And that was, his race had an even hit, the midpoint of the Europolan. So the 412, one of the MP kart racing team drivers, of which Van der Stroys is also part of the same outfit. Gil Mertens still doing very, very well in the Masters division, still holding on to P2 at the moment. But there is a driver in the form of Sam Glaze in the 535 who rounds out the top 4 behind Kevin Steyhauer, who's made up 5 places and has just set the fastest lap of the race, a 1:07.95. But shooting up 6 places. Robin Glerum, I did say watch out for him. He's just got up to 9th. And is ahead of Luca Prima. Anders Alkjaer, the other Dane in the division, has moved up 6 places and has started 17th. Now runs a genuine 11th position. And good to see the Blankenspor family follows Mick wherever he goes. Good afternoon, Helena. Hope you're keeping well. But Van der Stroys has now got a gap of about 1.1 seconds ahead of Gil Mertens. Kevin Steyhauer trying to close that gap down. He's 2.3 seconds off of our race leader. Jens Sir now up into 6th position. He's got through on Milan van Vinden. And it looks like there's been dramas for, as I said, Lenny Horbiolagash, who went off, hit the brakes too hard on the Lahouk Racing Kart Republic chassis and went rotating around. It's still circulating nevertheless. But Van der Stroys is now the quickest out of anybody around the circuit. 1:07.876. As there's still some great battling going on up and down the field, especially going through into turn 8 and turn 9. And that looks to be possibly, that's Robin Glerum. Robin Glerum has just got through on Alois Girardet, and that is a genuine move for position. That's P7 for Glerum. He's on an absolute flyer. Looks like Power Racing have given him a rocket ship of a KZ kart. And just in front of him, he's got Milan van Vinden, about 0.8 of a second up the road. So Glerum doing great work in these difficult and tricky conditions here at the home of champions. So that makes it 17 places gained for Robin Glerum. I'm not at all surprised. So there looks to be Zico Osterhoff in the 7-12. Unfortunately, has dropped down the order. Has ended up behind Lenny Robiot-Lagache. So 7-1-2 from the Netherlands currently runs 24th. So 24 out of the 25 starters still running. As we're on to lap 7 with 3 minutes to go plus an additional lap. Van der Stroy's still keeping ahead of Gil Mertens. The gap between the pair is about 6.5 tenths of a second. Kevin Stayhauer is starting to close on in, and he was actually close on pace to both Van der Stroy's and Mertens on that previous lap. Mertens was the quickest, set the fastest lap of the race, and there is the 4:11 from the Netherlands. The gap between the top three after 6 laps, 1.57 seconds. So Van der Stroy, it's a case of just keeping it on the racing line and keeping the elbows out and sharpen as much as possible. Whereas with Kevin Stayhauer, be a little bit braver on the brakes, go a little bit deeper into the corners and try to help with that rotation of the cart's momentum through the corners and get the traction down as a direct correlation. So we could end up with a little bit of a top 3 squabble for the W in this one. So Van der Stroy continues to lead. Gil Mertens 0.725 behind, and Kevin Stayhauer is closing. He was 1.368 seconds. So we've got now the likes of, Sam Clays has come through, Jeffrey Fixer, Jens Streur, Robin Glerum. Oh my Gideon. Right, there you got Jens Streur on the Croc Promotion chassis, and very shortly we might catch, I just caught the top of the race helmet of Robin Glerum. He has been absolutely flying, and on the last lap he took over half a second out of Jens Streur, and the gap was about 2 seconds. Through the opening sector, 3 tenths is what Glerum has taken out of Jens Streur on that particular occasion. So I think Jens Streur is going to have eyes in the back of his head very, very shortly, because we're coming down to the final 60 seconds plus that additional lap. So Van der Stroy's, Stayhauer seems to be the one that's making up the most ground, because he's got 2 targets that he can sort of focus on and concentrate on ahead of him. And that is realistically the best way of doing it. Meantime, Jens Streur trying to close in on Jeffrey Fixer, but look, they're in the same shot, bottom left, there's Robin Glerum. And he's like the way that the Power Racing Birolot is coming through out of turn 1, and instantly he's able to wait, bury the throttle, the car bites down on those rear tyres, and it rockets him out of the corner. Meantime, at the Europlan at turn 5, different story. They're all about sort of equal. But this is a great way for Robin Glerum to start his campaign here in the Karting Champions League Winter Series Round 1, as we will very shortly see that it is going to be one more lap to go. Last lap board is going to be shown, and there it is to Tommy Van der Stroy's Gil Mertens P2. Kevin Stayhauer, I think, could be looking for a move here, and he's got through. He darted through on the outs, and he got through turn 1, pointed it straight, hit the loud pedal, and bang, he was off like a rocket. And he got through. That was nice and neat and tidy. I think Gil Mertens just thought, you know what, I'm not going to chance it at this stage. And that was definitely the right course of action for the 5-3-4 from Belgium. But Van der Stroy's has done exactly what he's needed to do. Start from pole position and just keep the race under his control. And that's exactly what he has done. Yes, the gap hasn't been any more than probably a second at best between him and Gil Mertens for the majority of the race. But that shows composure, that shows maturity, and it will be the checkered flag this time around, because Tommy Van der Stroy, when he made the news public about signing with MP Kart Racing Team, he comes out of the final corner, and it is Tommy Van der Stroy with a comfortable and control display in these wet weather conditions to take the victory in Shifters Heat 1. We have got a time penalty coming in, though, for Kart 412, Christopher Zaxa for a jump start. Well, that's not really going to... That's just only going to add insult to injury on the result he's had, because he was out by the exit of turn 5 on the Europolán on lap 1. So Van der Stoys takes the win overall after 10 laps by 1.235 seconds, ahead of Kevin Stayhauer. Gil Mertens takes the win in the KZ Masters division, finishing P3 ahead of Sam Clays. Top 3 covered by 1.7 seconds, then another 11 seconds back in P4, making up 5 places from 9th to finish 4th. Ahead it was Sam Clays. Jens Tur finished 5th ahead of Robin Glerum, who made up a whopping 19 positions by the end of the race. Great job by the man from Power Kart Racing. Jeffrey Fixer, Milan van Vinden, Alois Girardet and Anders Elkier round out your top 10, with it being three KZ Masters in the top 10. So well done to Mertens, Clays and Elkier. Luca Brima 11th. Louis Esser 12th over Samuel Luyer. Mika van der Pava finished ahead of Bas Schulten, who rounds out your top 15. Kane Ince, Milo Bogenhout, Martin Versteeg, Mick Blankenspoor, Tanja Cirelli, Nick Plumers, Lenny Robiolagash, Daniel Zistra and Zuko Oosterhoff round out the 24 finishers. Oosterhoff a lap down. Christopher Zaxa for MP Kart Racing Team. The 412, unfortunately, out of the race on the Europolán on lap number 1 with Jean Leyer, a non-starter.